Welcome everybody back to another official podcast episode of Byte-Sized Balance. I'm your host, Tavis. Make sure you're following us on Instagram. My Instagram is tav__ or Byte-Sized Balance. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel. TikTok, X, I'm on all platforms at Byte-Sized Balance. Today, I have a cybersecurity professional on with us today. I'm going to let him define his role because this guy's kind of a jack of all trades when it comes to the field. He touches a lot of different things in his role. His name is Dr. Nate Butler. He's been in the cybersecurity field going on 10 years plus. Someone who's very experienced in the field and is going to drop a lot of gems for everybody out there trying to learn and get information on the field for you guys today. Nate, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, man?
Hey everyone, nice to meet you. Nate Butler. I've always been into technology since a very young age and have always been striving to be on the cutting edge of technology. So I'm always looking, always eager to learn, and always growing. So that's just a little bit about my character. But as far as like my background, I've been into the IT space for over a decade and have just been grinding from help desk roles to sysadmin roles all the way up to engineering level roles. And more recently, I've been touching cybersecurity and governance, risk and compliance, AI solutions. And it's a lot of exciting things happening right now that I'm touching. And I'm very excited to talk more about it, especially that GRC analyst piece. It's something that's more newer to me, but I feel like I've been doing a lot of it in my past,
Mm-hmm.
but just recently now actually doing the official role, putting all that background together and really like excelling in that space and really, honing in and trying to be the best GRC practitioner out there.
Nice, man. See, a lot of people, when they think cybersecurity, the first thing they think about when they hear cybersecurity is red teamer, a hacker. That's the first thing when you tell somebody that you work in cybersecurity. First thing they ask is, "Oh, so you hack stuff?" That'd be the first question that they ask. So, how about you, the people, what GRC is and how important it is to organizations, just from the blue team side and from the compliance side?
Yeah, so when we hear the word GRC, we're talking about it in an umbrella term, but you have to break down each letter of GRC. The governance side, you'll start to see different companies look into their policies. What policies do they have? What standards do they align with in order to generate those policies? On the risk side, you'll start to see folks that are looking at different risk profiles. They're looking at the maturity of the environment, this is business risk. So this is risk all across the business, from IT to security to HR and beyond. And then the compliance side, you have HIPAA, you have SOC 2, you have all these different compliance out there that companies have to align with based on their industry. So you have people who are engineers and analysts that work to identify these different risks within the environment. They attempt to get the environment audit ready before that compliance dragon comes through and starts slaying, and because it becomes a big panic at that point.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I agree with a lot of the things that he said. I've done some GRC work in my career as well. And like he said, yeah, it's good to have all that stuff in line because, like you said, these auditors, man, these companies are getting audited, especially when they're dealing with certain type of information, depending on what type of company it is. You got, like he said, HIPAA, you got PCI. If you deal with payment card industries, it's a lot of different type of frameworks. NIST, SOC 2, all of that stuff is good stuff to learn, man. And, it's important to organizations. So I've seen that you're, title yourself as, a security professional. So what does a security professional actually mean in real life? And what do you do day to day? What would you say?
Yeah. So we're talking about practicing. So a
Mm-hmm.
security practitioner is when you're really practicing the craft of security.
Mm-hmm.
And that's cybersecurity, that's information security. There is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And so on a daily, what I do, and especially different roles that I've worked in the past, as far as security architect, security engineering, cloud security, there are many different areas within cybersecurity, within information security that are available to work that are areas of need right now.
Mm-hmm.
But today is the landscape has vastly changed from the introduction of cloud being more relevant, folks bringing more of their services into the cloud, or environments that are going straight into the cloud and not even implementing a on-premise environment. So that's what, these practitioners are doing. They're looking at on-premise, they're looking at the cloud, and they're looking to secure these environments, whether leveraging tools,
Mm-hmm.
leveraging processes, leveraging people. And all those things combined is what you need to do and need to look at and be aware of and have your arms wrapped around, because every one of those areas, the people, process, technology is moving. So you have to keep up with it. Different things that I've done, and especially more recently, I've worked some pre-sales opportunities. I've also worked in implementation. So implementing SIM technology, EDR technology. And more recently, there's this new company that I'm working for, and we are building a tool that is for governance, risk, and compliance, a tool that is a cloud security posture management tool that will help companies with their cloud environments help boost their security posture.
Nice. So, how exactly would you categorize your role? Would you say it's more of a cybersecurity architect or a cybersecurity consultant?
So for me, I have been working for managed security service providers and also managed service providers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because they bring me on as a solution architect.
Mm-hmm.
They also, once I'm in the door, then I find myself as a product engineer
Mm-hmm.
working with the technology, ensuring that it's the right fit for the environment. And then I'm also now more recently doing more analyst work where I'm now looking at different environments, ensuring that they're audit ready.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nice. Yeah, nice, man. But that's a lot of people that people don't know about. And, like everybody, I know I got a lot of people trying to break into the field that watch my content. And it's good to hear those perspectives from people that do things that aren't the typical job that they think when they hear cybersecurity. So,
yeah, I'll throw one in there. So on the pre-sale side of the house, that's where a lot of folks, you'll see tech sales roles out
yeah.
there, specifically cybersecurity technology, selling those technologies. There's companies like MSSPs that interface with these existing clients and future prospective clients,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking to provide these services that they offer and sell. Microsoft Sentinel, for example,
Yeah.
that's just one I'm most familiar with, but they need folks who can talk about the different products and can champion those products. So
Yeah.
I've found myself in a lot of those roles. Sales engineer is
Mm-hmm.
what some of the titles would be. So I encourage folks to, I think it's highly slept on
Yeah.
that you see YouTubes out there talking about sales engineers, and
You don't hear it
especially
a lot though.
it's
Yeah.
not viral, but it's out there.
Yeah.
And I think that, okay, I have a background in IT. I got my bachelor's and my master's in computer networking and telecommunications. So on paper, I look great. And when I show up, I bring the approachable, adaptable personality, easy to connect with, business minded to the equation. So yeah, those type of characteristics, if you have those, if you liked tinkering with things, you liked figuring things out, problem solving, critical thinking, you should be looking for roles like that.
Nice. And sales engineering, I don't think I've heard anyone personally online talking about sales engineering. So that's another lane that some of y'all can dip into that is not a lot talked about. That's why I like bringing somebody in with this much experience because they can give y'all those type of roles that y'all can research and if something that y'all want to dive into.
Yeah, I want to share one more thing about
Go
that
ahead.
piece. I didn't know about sales engineering until it found me.
Mm-hmm.
Even I feel like cybersecurity found me. I already knew about it in college. It was a big wave. They were saying you better learn this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but it was like, okay, we'll get to it. The sales engineering, I was actually applying for a security architect role. Security architect level 4, they called it. And yeah, I was applying for a role I did not qualify for. So I highly
Mm-hmm.
encourage folks to do that, because when I did that, I had it in my head that I was a security architect. I was told that by my mentor. I believed that. And I was switched on from there. And I also did the work behind it. I studied for the CISM certification, and I have it. I've had it for 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this role on LinkedIn. I applied to it. Bo Wheeler, reached out to me directly. He was the hiring manager, and he's like, you don't qualify for this security architect level 4. We're looking for people with 20 plus years in the space, but you're striking a chord with me. I don't know what it is, but I want to get you there. And so he said, I'm gonna bring you in a sales engineer, paying 130K base, and
Mhm.
there was also bonuses
Mhm.
associated with it. And he told me, I'm gonna get you there. I'm gonna surround you with the architects and make sure that you're good. And he honored his word. I was there at that company for a couple of years, ended up moving up, doing more implementation with Microsoft Sentinel, EDR solutions like Defender for Endpoint.
Mhm.
And then he moved on. He ended up recruiting me a year later to another company, saying, and the role was ready. So
Mhm.
he, at that point, I was labeled as a solution security architect. And so he honored his word, and I appreciate that. And that relationship that I made just from applying to a role I didn't qualify for, it,
Yeah.
it pushed me into where I am right now.
Nice, man. So, would you tell the people? I heard a lot of people with experience say that as well. Don't be afraid to apply to those roles that you think you may not qualify for, because you never know. You're hearing it from somebody right who had the experience. You never know who's going to like your resume, who's going to like you when you talk to them. Hey, shoot the shot. It might go in. And don't count yourself out just because you feel like you might not have enough experience, because those connections are great. And I like another thing you said there. You really touched on something that I was talking about on my last podcast episode, was networking. How you stayed in contact with that person, even though he left your company, you built those relationships. Talk about networking in IT and in cybersecurity. How important is it?
It's probably one of the most important things that you can do for yourself. And it is critical that you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, be vulnerable, ask questions. I always say get comfortable getting uncomfortable, because you never know who's on the other side. You never know who they know that can plug you in. And I
Mm-hmm.
always tell folks to lean into their existing networks, their families, their friends. Talk about what you have going on. Likely their network's network may be able to plug you, may be able to just at least get you to the door. You have to get yourself through the door, but those networking relationships are critical that you lean into, you foster those relationships, you build those rapport. And then the most important thing is that it's authentic, that
Mm-hmm.
it's genuine. These relationships, not as transactional, that mindset of quid pro quo. You give me something, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. Is more like you're here in this industry, in this space, because you want to push the industry forward. You want to be a part of this industry to not only grow, but also contribute to the industry. And I think that when you have that mentality, and when you're in these networking environments, and then to say networking environments doesn't mean that you have to go physically in person. There's virtual networking environments that are out there. Like I'm on TikTok right now, and I do a cyber talks, and it's every day we talk about a different topic every day. You could show up to those environments,
Mm-hmm.
and within those environments we learn about the different areas that where you can go do labs, and where else you can go. So I think that staying connected with the networking piece is something that, if you're already finding yourself not networking, figure it out fast and start today.
Yeah. And that's, yeah, all great information, man. Like you said, you don't even have to be on person. You can network with people online. Even people that I've brought up in the past. Like the guy I had on last episode, he was saying that your network is your net worth. And then, that's accurate, So don't be afraid to reach out to those people. Don't be afraid to tap in with people that you want to learn from, and, build those connections. Cause, like Nate was saying, that you never know when you might need them they might have a position open that you need or something like that. And just having those relationships helps. So we're going to pivot into the next question here. So you've been in IT for over a decade. What changed the most about cybersecurity careers, from cybersecurity and IT as a whole, from when you first got in to now, that you think?
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been, ever since I was young, I've been around computers and have been that individual that just, if you had something technology related that needed to be fixed or troubleshoot, I was there. I was the guy that was called. So that brain has always been there. And so I've always known that I wanted to do the college route. So I decided to go into college. I thought I was going to be a computer scientist. I signed up for a computer science degree, couldn't pass C++.
Mm.
3 times in a row, failed it.
Mm.
I decided I was going to take it again, but for some reason, something landed me into the Polytechnic building at Southeast Missouri State University, where I got my bachelor's, and computer
Shout out
networking.
Southeast Missouri State.
Yeah, shout out SEMO.
Yeah.
And computer networking and telecommunications. I fell in love with it. It wasn't computer science. I didn't have the strongest math skills. I'm not weak in it, but I didn't have the strongest. And they threw this big, thick book at me.
Mm.
And I can also blame the instructor if I wanted to, but I'm not. But there was multiple things against me. And maybe perhaps it was something beyond that was just, you know, I wasn't supposed to be in that field. Okay, cool. I found computer networking. And at the time of computer networking, they were talking about cybersecurity.
Yeah.
They were saying, I took maybe 2 cybersecurity related courses, and they were saying this is the wave.
Yeah.
This is around 2011-ish. I graduated in 2012,
Mm.
and they said, you know, you need to get these skills. And I just brushed it off like, we'll get to it. Like, I'll
Yeah.
get to it whenever we get to it. You know, I want to be a network engineer. I
Yeah.
wanted to climb. I wanted to splice cable, terminate cable, and do that whole thing. And I ended up doing it. So
Yeah.
I met my goals. But at that time, cyber wasn't like the thing. We had just got a new cybersecurity instructor.
Mm.
Never before had that been in place. They had just brought in a person was ushering in a new cybersecurity program
Mm.
offering. So I was just too late. I was already out the door for that opportunity. So I think that when it came in, it was slow and steady. And there's been a spike within cybersecurity
Yeah.
over the years, in more environments needing folks who have knowledge and are skilled up in the cybersecurity space. So I think that it has grown a lot. And now, more recently, it's on fire. The space is blazing.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look, they need cybersecurity expert, and they need support to support that expert, to support those initiatives, those processes. That maturity is at one level, or to know where their gaps are. Most times they know where their biggest, where you can drive a bus through it
Yeah.
on the cyber side and information security. But they don't have the skills, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the tools, they don't have the initiatives in place to take those on. And if they do, they're spread thin.
Mm.
They're cross-pollinating with other resources, and that's
Mhm.
great to leverage internal resources, but you're burning folks out
Yeah.
and trying to have them wear 3+ different hats versus making sure that you bring in that right person that can do the role. And there's so many different roles today.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like you were saying back in the day, you were saying that, you know, cybersecurity wasn't the big thing then. You saying so you've gradually seen it grow over time into what it is today. And you know, like you said, yeah, now it's the biggest buzzword out now. Probably was the biggest buzzword until AI just started coming out. You know, and but even though still, you know, cybersecurity is still in play, you know, and it's still going to be needed, and every organization are still going to need, you know, professionals with these skills. I definitely agree with. I haven't been in the game as long as you have, but I've seen from the point I got into where I'm at now how big cybersecurity has gotten.
Oh, can I say one more
Go
thing?
ahead.
You called me Dr. Butler early on. I didn't correct you just because I am going towards a PhD. I do
Okay.
plan to be a professor, and that's the whole purpose of me even going the PhD route. So I am in a PhD program, but I do plan to switch to a different school. I'm at Capella University, and I plan to switch to a different program that's offering cybersecurity leadership. I see the industry traveling in that direction. It's okay to call me Dr. Butler. People, when I start working in
We
roles,
speaking into existence.
exactly. They say it too. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
they love that. And every time I've shown up with that master's degree, I've always separated myself from the competition with that level of knowledge coming in. And they've always highlighted it, but it's never been the real thing that really separated me from getting the role. So I
Yeah.
just want to kind of put that out there.
Yeah. I just got my master's. I do feel like it's more of a, like we were saying with the certification, it's more of a checkbox. It's more of a get through HR. Like this role requires a master's degree, so you're more likely to get an interview, but that doesn't mean you're going to land the role. Like, you know what I'm saying? And like you said, they're good to have, but yeah, it's definitely great that you want to get your doctorate and, you know, you're going to have it. And then, so by the time a lot of people probably see this video, you might have it by then. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to jump into the next question here. What misconceptions do people have about cybersecurity that you're seeing out there now? I know it's a lot of stuff going on online and you know, about just that buzzword cybersecurity. What are some of the misunderstandings you think people have?
I think the biggest one, and it's talked about a lot right now, when you hear the word cybersecurity, what do you initially think of? What do most people think of? And they start to say things like, "Oh, well, one of the most important things in the environment. You have to be able to secure the environment. So you want top elite people who can do that. You want these pen testers and these SOC analysts, and they go straight to these super duper technical roles."
Yeah.
And I don't get it
Yeah.
because I've seen so many different areas. And once you're in the space, there's not just SOC analysts and pen testers
Yeah.
out there. That the field is vast. And especially if you worked enterprise. If
Yeah.
you worked in a small to mid-sized businesses, maybe you only seen a couple of different roles within cyber, or you've seen the IT support share the responsibilities of cybersecurity and information security. There's a lot of different roles out there, and I put out there MSSPs just because I don't hear a lot of people talk about it. My last 3 or 4 companies have been for MSSPs,
Mhm.
MSPs. So I'm super familiar with the space. I love that space. I
Yeah.
always encourage people, if you've never heard of it, you should be looking at these different metropolitan cities, even small rural areas have these companies
Mhm.
that are supporting organizations on their cybersecurity, their information security.
Mhm.
So I would say that's where I would push folks towards, and just to clear out that illusion that that every single cyber roles are just these
Red team, blue team, SOC analysts and hackers. That's all they
super
think. Yeah.
technical roles,
Yeah.
like, and I'll even put out the other buzz out there, that is the entry level piece. Everyone will say that cybersecurity is not entry level, but I always shift the conversation as soon as I hear that, and I shift it towards, there are so many different type of roles that are out there
Mhm.
that are what entry level for that role.
Yeah.
So when we say SOC analysts, there's SOC analysts level 1, level 2, level 3.
Mhm.
The entry level into the SOC analyst space is the SOC analyst level 1 role. You even see roles with junior associated with them. And those are your entry levels to those specific roles. So it's not to take away from the knowledge base and the skill set that you
Yeah.
need to bring into the equation, and the level of knowledge that you bring into the equation. And then say that those aren't entry level roles, like,
Mhm.
but the reality is that you have to start somewhere, and entry is the start. I know folks that will say, security sits on top of IT, but that is a common misunderstanding. Security is integrated within IT, and they work closely with each other. They should anyways, but there's no one is higher than the other. Now, what I'll also say is that individuals, hiring managers, who, here's what the numbers say. If you look at ISC squared and you look at the workforce study, they'll
Mhm.
say that the folks who the hiring managers that are interested in bringing folks into the cybersecurity roles, they look at people who have IT background and share those cybersecurity responsibilities with the
Mhm.
IT resources. So those would be the first. That's the highest percentage
Mhm.
that are being brought in. There are other, self-taught, other degrees, career switchers, other folks are breaking in. The percentages are much lower though.
So I wanted to jump into this next question here, and you kind of already touched on it. I was gonna say, is hacking actually the best path into cybersecurity, or is that a myth? Because, like you were just saying, you kind of already answered that with the, you know, it's different roles that you can get into, and not necessarily. Another thing that I've seen though, role duties can vary depending on company to company. Like it can be a SOC analyst at one job and a SOC analyst at another job, and they do two completely different things. So it's kind of
100%.
like your skill set kind of has to be versatile depending on whatever you're doing, don't you think?
Absolutely. So, yes, versatile, but also your awareness to where are you applying? If you're applying to a FANG company versus, a big enterprise environment versus a small mom and pop shop,
Yeah.
it's vastly different.
Yeah.
And what they title a security analyst who will have a super narrow scope and do just security analyst,
Yeah.
and what a mom and pop would, small to mid-sized business would call a security analyst, the scope may not be so narrow. You
Yeah.
may have other responsibilities that are a part of different roles.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Familiarize yourself with the different roles that are available. And one great resource that people can go is to leverage is CyberSeek. I always say go to the different certification bodies that are out there, ISE
Mhm.
squared, ISACA, you have your CompTIA, your Council. There's a bunch, right?
Mhm.
But those are resources to look at these different pathways and learn about the different roles that map to those
Yeah.
certification paths. And another thing is take those roles that you're learning about and dump that into LinkedIn, dump that into all the job boards, Monster, Indeed, and so on, and start to look for patterns. Start to
Mhm.
look for what, like you're saying, what does a FANG company call a SOC analyst versus
Right.
what is a local software company
Yeah, exactly.
call a SOC analyst.
Yeah, you're right. Because I've worked big enterprise companies, and like you said, most of the time, big enterprise companies going to be segmented off. But when you go to those lower, like you said, small to medium sized companies, they're gonna have you doing everything. And I kind of feel like I prefer kind of the smaller environments because you get to learn more and touch different technologies, and you might find something, gain more skill sets. Rather than when you working in the big companies, it's just like this is your lane, and this is all we need you to do, and everything is so regulated and segmented off because I worked in pharmaceuticals. So it's like, you know how those big organizations like that are, they like to segment you off and you really can't work with other teams. You can work with them at the job, but they really not going to give you those permissions because that's not in your job title.
Yeah,
But
I agree 100%. You have to, and you made me think of how, because I work for big enterprises as well, and
yeah.
also the mom and pops, and so my preference, man, that's a tough one just because I've been in both, and I think that you should experience both. That's what I would say. Don't
Yeah.
try to go and don't play don't sell yourself short and not apply to these big, large companies.
Yeah.
I applied. It was through a recruiter, which
Hmm.
I've had a lot of success with the recruiters out there in the space. But I got on with Microsoft.
Yeah.
I was a cloud security engineer working for the Defender for Endpoint Pod, a global operation for Microsoft,
Hmm.
and I was working for within the break fix. So I was not interfacing with anyone else but the immediate team that I worked with, and there was a lot to do,
Hmm.
and but the scope was super narrow.
Hmm.
But on the working for these different MSSPs, they'll have one day pre-sales a solution architect,
Yeah.
and then I sell the solution, and then tomorrow I'm the implementation, so I implement the solution, and then the next day I'm working on the product engineering and looking to see if that solution is the right fit for the environment.
Yeah. So you feel like, so definitely you feel like with MSSPs and smaller companies, you get to wear more hats, right?
I'll say this. I did raise my hand too. I do know that I'll go back to even further in time and go back to some of my more early roles where there was just a two-man team,
Mm.
and they labeled me as IT specialist. And then we had the IT manager. We did everything. We did
Yeah.
GRC, we did cyber, we did IT, and we were spread thin. So we were forced in that case
Yeah.
to do everything. But in these recent MSSP roles, I raised my hand. I
Yeah.
said, I want to do that. I
And
like
don't be
this.
scared to be that guy either. Don't be that scared to be that guy at your job that, hey, when something comes up that somebody might not want to tackle, be that person to volunteer and want to learn more. Be ambitious in your roles and that can get you further in your career.
So sometimes you'll be voluntold, and then or you can volunteer.
Yeah.
And I've always been that way. I've
Hmm.
always separated myself from the other employees because most people, they just want to do their job and
Yeah.
keep their head down and
Yeah.
collect a check and just work, 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 and that's cool. And there's nothing wrong with it. I personally just prefer to put myself out there, put myself in situations that where I may not know what to do, but I can figure it out. And that has created a narrative about Nate, and especially that Bo Wheeler, when he moved on to that next company, even though we stayed in touch, I didn't reach out to him and say, hey, did you have something for me? He
Yeah.
reached out to me and said, I need that Nate sauce.
Cause when people see you go above and beyond, they want to work with you. Cause they know, hey, when I bring this guy in, I know he's willing to go the extra mile. He's gonna do the extra. And those are the type of people that people like to work with. So if they see that's how you work, they're gonna reach out to you, especially when they have something going on because he knows your working style. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? It's good to be, like he said, everybody want to be segmented off in their own little technology and do this, and that. But that person that goes above and beyond, I had managers call me a go-getter. He said, hey, man, when I know I put you on something, I know it's going to get done and I don't have to hold your hand. And I know that you're going to work the extra time in to get the task done rather than somebody who just, they'll act like, oh, well, that ain't my job, so I ain't going to do it. Or some people have that mindset. And you can't have that mindset in this field. You always got to, especially if you're trying to get ahead, man. So, I definitely feel like that mindset is good to have. So, jumping into this next question. So, if somebody is already like an IT specialist or a sysadmin or like help desk, what is the easiest transition path into cyber, you would say?
So as I was saying earlier, with the stats that are out there right now, you can look up the ISC squared's work study, and other people do these work studies about what do the hiring managers really want?
Yeah.
And it's the individuals who are in IT right now and share cybersecurity responsibilities with those folks, or maybe they don't even have those folks and probably even doing those security responsibilities, but you're labeled as, this one role. So I would do an audit. I would tell those folks to go do an audit on what technology that they're touching, what tools are they administering, and perhaps it's a EDR solution, and
Yeah.
that's cybersecurity all day. Perhaps they're touching Active Directory and
Yeah.
they're doing some identity access and management that they can surface up on their resume and highlight better.
That's how I did it. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you are gunning for those specific
Yeah.
roles. Like, you want to make sure you put your best foot forward. And that means that you look at your existing skills, your industry that you're in, and you look for opportunities to allow for that to highlight on your resume. And then you put yourself in positions where you network, back to that networking piece, like
Yeah.
reaching out on LinkedIn, introducing yourself to folks, telling them what you have going on, talking about the different things that you want to get into. That's going to open up doors. Once you start those conversations, you're agitating it a little bit. You're agitating that the opportunity that you may be able to entertain
Mhm.
if you put yourself in the right positions. And again, I think that you can't be so transactional with it.
Mhm.
It has to be genuine. It
Yeah.
has to be authentic. You have to be at the right place at the right time, but
Yeah.
constantly pushing your message and your branding out there. And you have to think about that.
Yeah.
If someone looks at your LinkedIn right now, what are you marketing yourself as? Are you
Right.
marketing yourself as an IT person? Are you marketing yourself as an individual who has IT experience that has also been exposed to cybersecurity, information security,
Mm.
and layering in that set of information, layering in the different certs that you are aspiring towards? And on the search piece, I would say that folks need to really look down the line. I always say, look for that dream role. Don't just look for that entry level role into cyber. Look for the role maybe 2 layers higher.
Mhm.
Because if you look for that role and you map back, okay, what does it take to actually get to that role? Then you start to figure out not only roles, but the certification paths that
Yeah.
are already figured out for you. In most cases, especially as you go to these different certification bodies, as well as these vendor specific certification
Mhm.
companies.
Yeah, that actually plays into the next question. You talk about certifications and how to map out your career and what certifications somebody needs to take in order to pursue the specific type of job that they want within cybersecurity. So, cybersecurity versus experience, which actually gets you hired?
I think certifications will get you to the door, but experience will get you through that door. And you really have to figure out what certifications are appropriate for the door that you're trying to get to. And then you have to figure out ways that you can get experience to get through that door. If you show up to that door, you got the interview.
Yeah.
You're happy, you're ready to go. But they really looking for experience. They want to
Yeah.
hear about those stories.
They want to hear them stories, man. I'm
They
telling you, they have to.
you have to have a star. You know, what was the situation? What was the task? What was the action? And what was the result that you have? Associate star to every bullet point that's on your resume, and be able to speak to experiences, make you that's going to separate you from the other candidates, because they don't have their stories together. Or and if they do, that's why they're getting through the door and you're still knocking at it.
They're gonna say, tell me about a time that you handled an incident. Tell me about a time that you did vulnerability management and remediated a vulnerability. Or tell me about a time that you did an audit on the company. Tell me about a time you worked with GRC tag. They like to ask that. So then it's like you can't really book knowledge that. Like if you ain't did it in practice, then it's like, you know, you really just winging it off the top of your head. You know, at least have some stories ready beforehand that you can jump back to. Have you 5 or 6 stories that you can, you know, dig back into your brain and pull out anytime a similar type of question comes back out, because yeah, that's definitely, you know, that's what they want to hear, and those are the type of questions that they're asking you in these interviews.
They will ask you those questions. You have to prepare for those questions because it's coming. And if you don't have the experience, meaning you didn't have, they're gonna say, Nate, but I've never worked the job that I needed to work. So you need to have something in place, and that something could be a lab. That something could be a simulated environment, to where you can speak to, here's how I've seen it, here's how I theoretically understand it, and here's how I've physically in practice have seen it work. And then speak to a couple of things that you ran into, hurdles that you were able to figure out. That's what they're really looking. Yeah, you got the story, but also, are you critically thinking through things, and can you problem solve on the fly?
Yeah, you know, and like he said, man, talk about how important labbing is, man, and digging through those technologies on your own and self-learning. You know, how important is that?
Right up there with networking. You should be able to walk the walk. You know, that's walking the walk. And I always tell people that, and I always share my story on how I invested in myself. And you have to invest in yourself. Like, I know that dollars are hard to come by these days, but you have to figure out ways that, and there's low to no cost options out there. For instance, labs. We're looking at, if you want to be a cloud security engineer, you better be able to say that you have been into GCP, AWS, and Azure. Why? Because they all offer free tiered access into the solutions. And what's that mean? All you need is a credit card. You leverage a credit card, they're going to charge maybe $1 on it. And then you can get into the environment, start familiarizing yourself with the environment. You only have limited amount of time, and you only have limited amount of credits. So you have to be very strategic before you even approach that. Leverage your LLMs to understand what are the different type of labs that you should be doing. And the way that you map it is, you have to figure out that role. You have to understand what role that you are gunning towards, or roles. I would say 2 or 3 makes sense. And they don't have to be vastly different roles. They could be, you know, security engineer, security architect, and cloud security. Those are 3 really similar roles, but they're also general too, because they can, security engineer, you could be doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've seen GRC roles labeled as security engineer. And then you might have one that's incident response, like, you know, but they both the same title, but it, like we were saying earlier, they doing 2 separate different things.
So yeah, so dig into those job descriptions, like, and then look for patterns. There's patterns out there. You just have to spend the time, invest in yourself, and that's time too. You have to invest time to, heads down, I'm gonna take this weekend to go look at what roles I want to do, what roles entice me, what roles really get me excited that I really want to drive towards, because you're gonna need that excitement to lean on. You're gonna need that something to anchor to, and to have as a something that you're dreaming towards, because you know you're going to hear a lot of noise. You're going to hear a lot of naysayers, gatekeepers, a lot of different things preventing you from being successful, but you're going to have to persevere and be resilient towards all of that.
For sure, man. For sure. Yeah, you got to have that drive in you. I call it that dog in you.
Yeah.
You got to have that dog in you to be willing to learn those extra things and figure out exactly what you want to do and really dive into that. Take some time out. You might not be able to go to the club on the weekend. You might not be able to play the game all the time. But if you want to better yourself and further your career, man, you got to take that time out. The people who've put the time in, they can tell. You can tell the people who've put the time in versus the people who are just winging it. And usually the people who get the time in, those are the people who get rewarded because you can't fake putting time in. You can't fake the people who actually went through the materials. Yeah.
It's very obvious in a couple of questions, maybe even the first opening statement, if
Yeah.
you are who you say you are.
Yeah.
But if you are investing in yourself and practicing, you did those mock interviews and you practice, when it's
Yeah.
time to show up, you're going to show up. Now, does it mean that you may choke? Yeah, you might get into an interview, you
Yeah.
might swing and completely miss. And that's a thing. You get across these panels, they're doing this hazing style and they're
Yeah.
drilling you with these
Yeah.
rapid fire
Yeah.
questions. You might start to choke up and forget some of the stuff that you've
Yeah.
been
It's
practicing.
normal. Yeah.
That's completely normal. And you should come at that as a learning lesson and know what different things on how you need to better prepare for that next one.
Yeah, man. Cause I done got grilled in some panels. Crazy. I know I have. And you know, like you said, that comes with it. But like you said, you learn where you went wrong on it at. I like to record my interviews so I can go
Ooh.
back and listen to them, look at the transcript, see exactly what exactly I didn't do good at. So if I was ever in that circumstance again, I know how to respond next time,
Yeah.
you know.
I
So
did something recently where I talked to Chat G
yeah.
said, "Hey, I got this interview coming up, Microsoft Sentinel consultant." And drill me with questions. Started drilling me. I gave him my answers and it came back with,
That's what I'm telling y'all, man. Y'all don't realize these LLMs is really how powerful they are. They can really give you a mock interview on that. You can literally copy and paste the job description, post it in Chat GPT and say, I have an interview for this job coming up. Give me a mock interview and grade my answers A, B, C, D, and give me recommendations on how to better my answer afterwards. And it'll do it. It'll ask you questions very similar to what they're going to ask you in the interview. Then by the time you get in the interview, you feel like you done ran through the questions so many times, your answers are going to be ready. So yeah, use these tools, man. They're out there and they're available to you. Back in the day, they didn't have Chat GPT and all that.
what was the difference? We didn't, in 2012, Chat GPT was not there. So it was off the strength of your own muscle, your own
Yeah.
brain, and your own networking and your own abilities to be vulnerable and put yourself in the right rooms and ask questions. You got to ask those questions.
So let's dip more into the GRC space because I know that's your thing, man. So what is audit readiness and why do companies panic when audits come?
Yeah, so audit readiness is exactly what it sounds like, where companies that are in different industry verticals have to follow specific rules and have to have certain things in place from configurations to you name it. It's not just IT and it's not just cybersecurity, it's also the business. So we're
Yeah.
talking HR and all of that. I would say that the reason why people panic is because they last minute try to prepare for the audit when it's time to do the audit.
Yeah.
And they know when the audit time is coming, but they'll last minute try to put things in place and they really panic because they don't have certain tech, certain things aren't configured. So the way that these audits work, when the auditor shows up, they're going to ask for it's going to be a point in time for this span of time. So if you hadn't been doing the thing that they're looking for over the last year and you just try to last minute flip on a few switches and now I'm capturing the evidence, too late. You missed it. You're going to have a finding. And that's why they panic, because if they have these findings, there's a potential that they won't pass that audit. And if they don't pass that audit, then they can't put that stamp on the business saying that the business is SOC 2 Type 2 compliant.
And if you ain't compliant, ain't nobody gonna want to do business with you.
There's risk there that companies may not, if you have existing relationships, may not be able to continue to do business with you.
And depending on the framework, depending on if it's something like HIPAA or something like that, if you ain't compliant with it, like you said, you can't even do business. Compliance is very, very important. So, don't feel like, everybody don't got to be no hacker. Everybody don't have to be blue team. If you actually lock in and you learn all these frameworks, That's a very valuable skill that a lot of people sleep on. I've done some GRC work in my past. It's not the funnest work. People say it's not sexy, but at the same time, it's needed, and companies are very strict on compliance, and companies really need people that know this stuff. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, well, I'm having fun over there. So
You
I
like it?
I I, I hear folks, I hear that they'll say, it's pushing papers, but I'm not sure what roles they're working,
Yeah,
but there's analyst and engineer work that is very exciting. And when we were talking about the audit readiness piece and we're looking at a gap analysis and we're looking at these different environments, probably the roughest part is aligning to a framework that you may not be familiar with. I would always tell folks to familiarize themselves with these different frameworks that are out there. You have the CIS controls that is very friendly. So I always encourage folks to go there first. But then you also have NIST CSF 2.0 right now. A framework is the ISO 27001 family. Very, very good. And so companies globally will be looking to align with that framework. And so I would say that, that's probably the biggest lift where if you haven't seen the ISO 27001, you're looking at the Annex A and you're trying to understand this stuff, there's a lot of moving parts and it covers a lot of different areas for the business. So, familiarizing yourself with one of these frameworks, start with CIS controls. Great framework to just try to learn and familiarize yourself. So that way, when these other frameworks come into play, it's not a complete, oh, I'm lost in the sauce,
yeah.
I'm confused, or this is dry material. It can be exciting. You should try to look for ways to make it exciting.
Yeah, because the security, I mean, the GRC work that I did when I was with a previous employee of mine, shout out INE. I was security the operations manager there. What they had me doing was pretty much they were trying to be compliant, and it was a security engineer and me, and pretty much what we had to do was provide a lot of information to virtual CISOs who were preparing us for the SOC 2 audit. So I had to take a lot of go into all our environments and take screenshots of all the controls that they want to see. It was a lot of screenshots. That's proven that you have controls in place. That's pretty much the type of work that I was doing when I was doing it. I never been the actual like auditor or anything like that. And even when I worked in enterprise environment, sometimes it'll be a task that came up where they needed a screenshot or needed evidence that some type of information. Change control is a big one. They real big on that. Whenever you make a change inside of an environment, they want to make sure that documentation is right. QA is looking on it and everything. If it's not right, they're going to push it back until you get the change control right. So
Yep.
personally, I don't mind doing it, but that's what I mean when I say it's not the funnest work to me. Some people like that. And it is technical because technically you gotta know how to go into the systems and find exactly what you're looking for and know exactly where to find the information. And that's technical in itself. So people who say GRC isn't technical, you know, it also depends on the role. Like, certain companies do it certain ways,
Yep.
some companies do it other ways. But like I said, in the experience that I had with it, I had to know where to go in AWS to find where to show them we're complying in this.
Yep.
If you don't even know how to navigate the console or exactly what information to pull to prove that, then like I was saying, it's technical in itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
That if you, and that's why I was thinking, like, now that I've been doing GRC for a year now, I've been able to combine a lot of my experience that I've learned from networking to IT to cyber and leverage it. And the exciting piece for me is the critical thinking part, because you'll get in situations where it's like, I'm looking for this piece of evidence and you need to go grab that
yeah,
screenshot and it may not be there.
yeah,
So you have to turn on your critical thinking brain and start to think, okay, what are other ways to show that we are passing this specific ask? So I would say that was probably my experience right now, as far as like having to figure that out, just because the answer may not just be so flat. Show me your backup log for the
exactly.
last
Yeah,
year and make sure that you've
like
been doing
what?
them every day, incrementally, and also monthly.
Because the
Well,
stuff them framers be asking for, it's like, yo, like, where do I even find this at? Like they be asking about like how like data handling and that's all type of
yeah,
stuff, man. This stuff it's so many
it
controls.
may not be there. It
Yeah.
may not be there. So getting creative, and maybe if those backup logs are not in there, where are
File integrity monitoring and stuff like that. Like
yeah, where else can you go? Can you go into a database and show that the database was at least backing the main piece why we're here, the database was backing up to some logs somewhere within the event viewer.
Yeah.
And if yes is the answer and you can prove it and get those screenshots, then you're on to the next one.
Yeah. Definitely good
But
stuff, man.
that strong IT background is going to help
You're right though. Yeah.
you critically think like that.
Yeah. Cause like you said, if you don't know where to find it, then you ain't gonna be able to move to the next step.
You might have to lean on others to ask them questions and well, okay, I couldn't find it. Where else can I look? And lean into their experience and go check over there.
Yeah.
Versus you being able to figure it out on your own. But that's also a part of what I like about it, the collaboration piece.
Yeah.
I don't have to know everything. I can lean on my resources that are available. As we're helping companies get them audit ready, they have resources. They have the tribal knowledge that we need, how they do things, and they know more about the environment than we know. So asking those questions, probing, interviewing, we call it, and getting what you need to be successful in these audits.
Nice, man. Nice, man. So, your experience in the field, what are the biggest security mistakes that you see companies make internally?
It's definitely preparing the organization, the culture. Let's say that.
Yeah.
I think it's revolving around culture, the security culture, a security first minded culture. It's often pushed through security awareness training, and then it kind of stops there. There's no workshops to follow up. There's no tabletop exercises. And then you could do these tabletop exercises with just the IT team, just the cyber folks, and look to create these different scenarios and talk about them and then expose different areas that are gaps within the environment and have a discussion about that so that way they can create a POAM and ensure that there is a solution in place to cover these gaps. So I would say that it's around awareness, it's around the culture and that security first minded culture.
So, you saying that you see a lot of companies, they struggle with that aspect.
I think they do it to the best of what they think they should be doing, meaning I need to check this box that all these people did these trainings, that all these people annually did these trainings, which annually, if you're just testing, you're doing awareness training annually, I think that's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You need to step into, quarterly
Yeah.
and I know security awareness is tough. Like
Yeah.
because there's a lot of pushback in that area right now. You got a lot of the people who are receiving the training and these phishing attempts. They think that they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Stop all that. You're interrupting my work
Right.
flow right now. So I think that taking it to the next level is where is where the gap is. And I think that, yes, do those trainings and do them often, but and then build in that security awareness culture, meaning, have a workshop from time to time, get
Yeah.
people involved, let them see a little bit more behind the scenes of why it's so important that they do these trainings and that these tabletop exercises are taking place.
Yeah. You're right. A lot of companies, they'll do phishing campaigns here and there, and then it's like, okay. And then it pretty much stops there. So you're saying like, yeah, have some workshops, have some talks, and have some more than just the baseline to keep your company secure.
I saw one
You know?
company do it really well. I was at a bank and they brought people from the cloud architecture team to do a talk. They invited the entire org and it was like
Nice.
webinar form, but it was internal.
Yeah.
Only internal can access it. And they'll bring the security team, parts of the security team, the networking security, and talk about the different things that they're doing so that way there's awareness out there and it's engaging. You can ask questions at the end. You can talk about your department's experience related to it. So I think that's a great way to spread that security first awareness.
The more they hear the stuff, the more they'll be prepared for it if something was to happen, and the more they'll think that way. So I definitely agree with you, man. They need to be hearing that stuff. And
It's the why piece.
yeah.
Why is this important to me?
Yeah.
Why am I doing this training? Why does the security team need to also do their training?
Yeah.
These domain admins,
Yeah.
these folks that have the keys to the kingdom, why do they also have to do the training? And then it's a top-down approach. It's a top-down approach from the CEO all the way down. and in pushing that culture of awareness to the different teams and collaboration, and to the business ultimately.
Yeah, because I saw on my last podcast, the head of cybersecurity for CISA, he put his information inside of a public version of ChatGPT. And that's bad security. That he anybody out of all people, he should have been the last person to do that. You saw that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like come on, man. Like that was just, so your position doesn't matter. You can be the highest admin, or you can be, CISO, and anybody. Everybody needs training. Everybody needs cybersecurity training. Nobody can hear it enough. Like, so just having that mindset that, why do I need to know this? I feel like that's not, practical, because anybody can make a mistake, anybody can get got. And so the more and more you see the stuff and the more and more you train for it, the better you're going to be prepared for it. So,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
other one is, why me?
yeah,
Like the companies as an org, like as a whole, or even specific people within the org. I'm too small. Why me?
yeah,
Sometimes it may not be, something that we're just looking to put ransomware so that way we can actually try to get dollars out of you. Sometimes these adversaries just want to destroy,
yeah,
and that's what they get out of it. That's why.
yeah. So y'all be resilient out there, man. Especially all y'all admins, anybody who's working in security. Educate your end users. That's real important. If you're in charge of implementing, if you're the one in charge of the security program, try to have some talks here and there. Try to have some, even if it's just a team meeting or luncheon or something like that. Get this stuff in these people's face as much as possible, because it's crazy out here. And these attackers, man, they just getting more and more relentless.
Maybe you actually propose that you start the lunch and learn, you
Mm,
start the brown bags, and hey, I'll reach out to my regional CISA representative and see if they want to come chat.
yeah,
I'll reach out to NIST. I've reached out to NIST before and brought in a NIST representative that
nice.
specializes in small to mid-sized businesses and talk to us and talk to the group
Yeah.
about what they have going on and why it's important and all the different resources that were available and also what's upcoming.
Hmm.
So I think that that's another way that you can separate yourself from folks is, you know, volunteer, raise your hand and say,
Yeah.
let me go. Let's start a lunch and learn.
Yeah. Man, you'll get kudos at your job if you do that. If you bring in somebody from another organization that speak to everybody about a specific topic, oh yeah, well, come review time, they're gonna remember that. Definitely, that you went that extra mile to get people that education. So let's dip into the next topic. So what is, for the people that don't know, what is cloud security posture? I mean, cloud security posture management, and why is everyone talking about it now?
CPSM, cloud security,
Posture man.
CSPM. And the reason why orgs are talking about it, everyone's talking about it right now, is because companies are moving more and more to the cloud. There's a
Yeah.
lot of cloud services being spun up on a daily, and you need to understand what it are the gaps that you have. So these tools will, like Wiz or Prisma or even an open source version, Prowler is one that you can scan your AWS Azure environment and it will tell you the findings, the issues that you have within your environment, and align with the different frameworks, standards.
Hmm.
And so if you are trying to become CMMC certified, you leverage one of these tools to tell you where are your gaps in relation to that certification,
Hmm.
and then take action on it. You then would take, you would create a poem from there or some of these tools are allowing you to make the changes. They'll tell you what commands you need to run to resolve that finding or issue, but then some of them will let you press a button and then it'll just fix it for you. And that's your choice if you want to do that based on your org's posture and current maturity, but that's what's out there right now.
Yeah, man. So Wiz is a cloud security posture management platform. Is that what the name of that title is, or what would they?
Yeah, they do more than that, but they have a piece where they that type of scan.
Because I know you got like vulnerability management, and you got vulnerable scanners like Nessus and stuff like that. And then it's one that I use called Drata. So that was like it was kind of like the same thing. You tied in through APIs to all your clouds and all your systems, and it like you said, it'll pull everything and audit it based off whatever framework you pick. Is that the same type thing Wiz does?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's also not just AWS. I know I just said like AWS, GCP, and these major clouds, but it's also the other ones, Alibaba, MongoDB,
yeah,
infrastructure as code. You can scan all of these environments.
yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, these tools out here, man, they sophisticated, man, and they'll definitely tell you what's wrong with your environment, and that's all great stuff right there. So, all right. So, one of the big questions, one of the buzzwords right here. All right. So, AI, man. So, your experience, how do you personally, how do you feel about AI personally? And, secondly, is AI making cybersecurity easier or is it making it more dangerous?
I love it.
Okay.
I love AI. I use it every day, and I'm trying to expand my knowledge on it every single day on how to interface with it because you can use it. You can use the GUI version of the web interface version of ChatGPT, but you can go to the next level and use like Gemini CLI or Claude CLI and leverage it within the command line, and then you unlock more power and capabilities.
I haven't played around with cloud yet, but I hear it so much. Everybody's talking about it.
Claude is on fire
Yeah,
right now.
need to play around with it.
Every one of these LLMs are very token based, usage based. You can pay $20 to get in. Actually, most of these are free. Most of
Yeah,
these are free. And then they'll, at a certain point, tokens, you ran out of tokens, you asking too many questions.
yeah,
So now we have to cap you and you're going to pay
yeah.
$20,
$20 a month.
20 to $50 some of these, and then you're going to use it and love it, and then you're going to exhaust all your credits and tokens, and then they got the $200 version
Yeah,
out there for the people that just want to go crazy. And I know of some folks that leverage it to that level. I've never had, but I have leveraged the $50 versions and hit my limits. But wait a day, wait some hours, and you're back in the game.
yeah,
But these folks who are leveraging on that $200 level are really getting a lot of juice out of that squeeze.
yeah, man. Because I got the $20 Chat GPT. I've had it for a while now too, and I'm glad I do got it. So, how does Claude differ from Chat GPT?
So you're gonna leverage. So every GPT these days are almost doing what neck and neck right now.
Yeah,
There's differences between each of them from Grok, Claude,
Gemini.
and each of them have their strengths. So leverage multiple. If you never touched a GPT, pick one and then go try to use another one and then
Yeah,
try another one. So I like Claude. It creates these artifacts. And these artifacts, they say interactive, but in the technical world, it's not really interactive. But you can create what looks like a web app and
mm.
click around and create something very special and visually appealing.
Oh yeah, I
So
gotta check that out.
yeah, you say create me, it's going to automatically do the artifact for you. You can ask it questions and it's going to deliver you a response. But the moment you say create me a document, it's going to create an artifact. And that artifact is it could be interactive. You can click around and
Mm.
it looks very good. So I leverage Claude for that. You can even share that artifact with people, the public. It's not just, only you can see it. I can
Hmm.
share something that I created with you. You can then take that artifact and drop it into your Claude instance and start building, your own version of that artifact
Yeah.
so that there's no loss of, you have to build something from scratch. You got somewhere to start from. So every GPT is going to have its strengths and weaknesses. So I always encourage folks to try what's out there. Gemini,
I don't like Gemini. I played around with it, but apparently they say it's better at research. They said like if you need something direct research for something, and I've noticed that its memory isn't as strong as Chat GPT's is. And when I try to do mock interviews with it, it's like, it don't stay on topic. And you gotta put everything in its memory. It's not gonna remember by itself unless you put it inside of that one of them pre-prompts.
So that's the thing. Like, not only do they have their feature differences, but some of them operate differently in order to get the most out of them.
Yeah.
So, what you're explaining to the folks is that, if you've never heard of Notebook LM, it's a Google product. It allows for you to enter these data sources into a folder, you can call them,
Yeah.
and then it's going to let you build things out of those specific data sources versus going to the web and leveraging information from the web. You feed it something very complex and that you're working on, and it's going to extract information out of it and then produce awesome things like reports, podcasts, and different ways to explain things to people.
Yeah, man. There's so many out there, man. And yeah, I mean, I like AI too. So as far as from the attacker side, how have you seen them leveraging it?
So just like on our side, where we are now seeing AI get introduced to pretty much bolted on and baked into these different tool sets that are out there that we're using right now, even the cloud security posture management systems, they have an AI component built in to where you can ask it questions. On the adversary side, it's the same things. So we're getting armored up, they're getting armored up over there too. And they're also leveraging, for instance, social engineering. In the past, social engineering has been, it was a little bit obvious because of the language and some of the words used. Now with AI on their side,
Yeah.
these social engineering attacks tactics are have been becoming more and more sophisticated, so more difficult to recognize and allowing folks to get tripped up even easier.
Yeah. It's bad, man. It's bad out there, man. And just like we were talking about on my last episode, man, when y'all getting these emails and stuff, man, look at the email headers, look at the URL, see if it's any type of weird characters in there, because all it took is that one mistake, man, and ransomware,
Yeah, and I
you know.
also say that they're skilling up faster too. That on the adversary side, they
Yeah.
are learning just as fast as we're learning something new, just as fast as we're producing apps that we had never been able to get out the door, just as fast as we're coming up with thoughts. The adversary is also leveraging these tools to brainstorm about
Yeah.
things, to help them build out code. Before, when they didn't have the skills to build the code themselves, now they're jailbreaking AI and doing nefarious activity with it.
Yeah, man. So it's coming from both sides. And yeah, like from the good guy side, man, we just got to be prepared for it. Leverage it to the best of your ability and user awareness, man.
Preparation looks
Yeah.
like skilling up. Go look at all the certification bodies that are out there. ISC squared, ISACA, every one of them, even CompTIA, they're all getting AI training in place, certifications in place that you can get today. Also, things that you want to look around towards is the frameworks. Look at the NIST AI framework, the RMF framework. Go look at MITRE, see what they're doing with AI. Go look at Atlas. And there's so many different areas within cybersecurity that is bringing that awareness and helping you get prepared. So you have to go do your due diligence to get informed. So that way you start with getting informed, then you figure out where you want to take place, and then you start skilling up.
So concerning versus working internally, which one do you think is better long term?
External,
Internally.
external versus internal.
Yeah, yeah. Consulting versus
Oh,
working
consulting.
internally.
Okay,
Yeah.
consulting.
I guess consulting is external, huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I like the way you said that. Consulting is right. I think that you have to try your hand at both.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, I'm finding a lot of exercises in the consulting space right now, but I've worked a lot of internal roles, and that was my background. I came from nothing but internal roles. I've known nothing but internal roles until I started working for MSSPs, and then I started stepping into these more consulting style roles. And even now, I'm interviewing for Microsoft Sentinel consulting roles right now, and it's the move. I think that what really matters is where you're going and where you're coming from and where you are within your stage of this journey, because you may not have the abilities to say or the confidence to jump into a consulting role.
Yeah, consulting is different. It ain't just engineer. Like I had a consulting interview once, and they're looking for people who can not only use it but tell people how to use it and be able to convince them that they need to use it even when you have pushback. Like that's what I got from it. What you think about
That's
that?
tough too to
Yeah.
do. I agree. And you have to champion the technology, the product, the process, whatever you're going towards. You have to be able to step into a space and speak intelligently and be able to articulate your thoughts extremely well and have that persuading component, and what battles that you can take on, and what battles do you need more resources, because it is I like the word, convince. You have to convince people to do certain things, or you
Yeah.
need buy-in.
Yeah.
Without buy-in, for my, Microsoft Sentinel, keep throwing that example out there because it's so
Yeah.
relevant in my head.
A lot of people don't like Signal, and I've heard a lot of pros talk junk about Signal. I actually
There's a huge amount of people I always get
yeah,
pushback because I'm a Microsoft proponent all day,
I like
every day.
Microsoft too.
So Microsoft Sentinel is their SIM technology, which is all now getting integrated with the Defender platform. They're always doing this unified thing. They've
Yeah.
been merging towards it. But the more that you can speak about these different products, you're going to put yourself in a position to champion it. And who uses these products? The SOC analyst is using Microsoft Sentinel, but also you have to talk to senior leadership about it. So, okay, we need buy-in from the technical folks, and we need buy-in from the top-down approach. And the top-down approach said green light, go.
Yeah.
But you got these technical folks that are like, well, we don't want it. We still want to
Architect,
use
he done
Splunk.
been there 15 years. He like, no, I don't like it.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
It's pushback all day. And pushback looks like slow to adopt. Pushback looks like, well, I don't not raising their hand as soon as they normally would when they're actually committed and they have the full buy-in.
Yeah.
So actually engaging with the technical folks and also senior leadership is part of consulting. And I like that. That's where I've been playing, and I've been finding a lot of success in that
Yeah.
space. And I encourage folks to look into it, but also the risk that's out there, and especially as you're doing like 1099 type of roles, the risk is if they don't need you, you're gone.
Yeah.
And so ensuring that you have that next, thing lined up, or always interviewing, always keeping yourself interview ready. Because
So most consumer roles are 1099, pretty much all of them, huh?
I wouldn't say all of them. I think that there's W-2s, like this role that I'm interviewing for. It's a W-2 role,
Oh, okay.
but they're labeling it as consulting, mainly because the MSSP is looking to bring this new technology into their offering.
Yeah.
So they need someone to come through and be that champion advocate of the product.
Yeah, man. Consulting, yeah, it's definitely a different game, man. I feel like before you even get into consulting, you gotta have experience with, consulting is not just something people that's not just a cold role you can just jump into. Like you said, you had a previous experience before you got into it, but like, yeah, this definitely for people with at least, I would say minimum like 6 years of experience working with, different technologies or whatever the particular technology that you're working with.
So
Yeah.
it's a well-rounded. They're looking for folks who are well-rounded. They're looking for folks that, if you're talking about a specific technology, like we're talking about Microsoft Sentinel, do you also know about Defender for Identity? Do you know about
Defender for
MCAS? And do you know about, the Defender for Office? And how are you with Purview? Because eventually that's what's all, these are the signals that you're feeding into the SIM. So
Yeah.
the more you know about those other items, you can come in and really help them out from the folks who actually have to implement it. Even if you're not implementing, you have that brain that you can help them make the job easier. So that's one thing. And then there's the credentials. Do you have the certifications? Do you have the degrees? Sometimes these companies are interfacing with government entities, and the government entity wants to see that you have that master's program. And if you didn't have that master's program and you're engaging and interfacing with me, you don't have the people that we're really looking for to really even have a conversation with right now. So, having the right background, certifications, degrees in place, and a combination of all those things is critical.
You got a lot of Microsoft certs. I saw. How many Microsoft certs you got?
I think there's like 4 or 5 out there. The AZ 700, MS 500, SC 200, AZ 104, and I'm looking at the SC 100, and that's the Microsoft Security Architect.
I like that one too. I got SC 300, Identity and Access
Nice.
Administrator. I got a SC 900.
Nice.
That's like fundamentals. Security, Identity, and what's it called? Fundamentals. And then I got like DP 900. That's another
Nice.
fundamental one.
I like that.
It's actually a hybrid one that deal with like a Windows Server AZ800 and AZ801. So
Nice.
I passed 800, but to get the cert, you got to pass 801. But like I don't really work in hybrid environments like that no more, and because that's for like transferring, on-prem environments to the cloud and stuff like that. So I passed 800. I took 801 and failed it, and then I just like never took it again. I need to take another shot at it, but yeah, man, I really want 104 though. That's the one they would really be looking for. That
Yeah.
104. So
Look at the Microsoft certification pathways and look at the role-based view of it. So
yeah,
that way you know what role that you're gunning for and that the certs that you're doing are in alignment with that, because a lot of times there's prerequisites. So the SC100, I can't just walk up and take that. You have to
yeah,
have these other certs in place in order to get there. So I always encourage folks that all the hard work of which cert should I do is already figured out by the vendor specific or these certification bodies that are out there. They've already done all the hard work. All you have to do is pick the role that you want to do and be and aspire towards it and ask different people in the industry, lean on them, especially if these mentors that are open to have you lean on them. I tell all the people all the time, like, I want you to lean on me. I need you
yeah,
to ask questions. If you don't ask those questions, I don't know really where to help you. I have an idea and I will drop nuggets in game, but the better workflow for it is if the mentee brought questions, the more specific questions that you're asking is going to allow for that mentor that you're working with give you that tailored advice that you need for that moment.
yeah. Mentorship is important too. That's another thing people need to know. Like, get you somebody who's been in the field that knows, the tricks and the tricks of the trade and stuff like that. So they can teach y'all exactly how to move, even if it's just somebody online that you met. Like, it's a buddy of mine, Henri Davis. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he got a podcast. Shout out to Henri Davis, man. He got a podcast called Tech Tool Chatter. Yeah, and that's who I was actually on his podcast.
I thought it was
Um,
Henry. So I've been saying Henry.
yeah,
It's
it's
Henri.
Henri.
I know you're
Yeah,
talking
you
about.
would say Henry, but yeah, that's who I reached out to, and he was my career coach.
Nice.
And
He's cool. I reached out to him
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah, that's my guy, man. And like I said, I was on his podcast. I flew out to Dallas and talked to him, and yeah, man, and he taught me how to build my resumes and how to get hits, and he really gave me the game on the strategy of exactly how to move in this field. And it's everybody don't got somebody that that's willing to do that. Reach out to as many people you can. You might have to pay somebody if you need to, but you don't have to. But at the same time, you got to do what you got to do to get the knowledge to get yourself ahead in the game.
You have to
So,
do what you have to do.
yeah,
And when you're entering in, if you're paying someone, you're entering into more of a coaching relationship.
yeah,
And understand when you're entering a coaching relationship versus a mentor relationship. Typically, a mentor, there's no monetary, financial
yeah. I would call him the
component.
coach.
Absolutely, a
Yeah,
coach. And, it's funny that you said his name because I was like, I didn't even know how you pronounce, but I know he's a SOC manager, and I reached
yeah,
out to him. You have to put yourself out there, y'all.
yeah,
You have to ask questions. I randomly reached out to him and was like, "Got to have you on the." Actually, someone recommended him, but I was
yeah,
already Nigel. He's one of the influencers, people, creators in this space, and doing some amazing things. Nigel oftentimes comes to my cyber talks I host on
yeah,
TikTok, and he was like, "You need to go talk to Henry for
yeah,
real, and I need that SOC manager." And I reached out and he said it wasn't the right time, but I think that we're gonna get him.
yeah, man. He cool. Hey, Henri, you see my guy out here now. Hop in this talk. All right.
I need you sooner.
I'm gonna clip it and send it to him. But yeah, man, yeah, that's my guy, man. He a good
Nice.
dude. He taught me a lot in the space. But so we wrapping up on the last two questions here. So, what skills separate high earners in cybersecurity from average people in cybersecurity? What would you say?
I wouldn't even lean into the technical skills. I'm gonna go interpersonal. I'm gonna go into
Those soft skills, huh?
those soft skills are what's going to differentiate you between the competition, mainly because if you have that eagerness to learn, you're approachable, you're adaptable, you can critically think, you can articulate your thoughts, you're going to open up so many doors because people, hiring managers and environments need those type of soft skills that are critical for you to not, okay, you got all the skills, but can you do the job and work within our culture? Because you may be a decision away from getting the role just because you don't have that culture fit. You got everything else.
Job searching has I definitely noticed it's more meticulous now. Like I was talking about on the last podcast. Do you feel the same? Like companies have pretty much raised the bar on how easily they're letting people into these roles. A lot of these big companies overhired during COVID, and then after COVID, when they realized they didn't need all the people, they laid a lot of people off, and then it just seemed like ever since then they're looking for unicorns.
The unicorn is really a thing out there that folks really strive to bring in. They won't hire, they'll keep the job posting up there. And now we have millions of jobs that are needing to get filled, and these gaps within the environment, and people getting burnt out, and they're trying to cross train folks and bring them from the other department into this one. They got the tribal knowledge, but you're wearing too many hats.
Yeah.
Too many hats. So I would say that the job market is definitely super competitive. You look at these different job descriptions. If the job is truly a true representation of what you're actually going to do, wow, because I see some of these requirements, not preferred, actual requirements to get through the door. Crazy certs, like crazy amount of certs. So it's an overload, and it's not a true representation of what you're going to be doing. Once you get the job, you're like, man, this job is cushy, because I thought it was going to be crazy. They wanted a crazy unicorn to do the role.
And you get the job and it ain't even
that. Or you're only focused on the first 3 bullet points within the job description. All those other bullet points in there, even beyond certs and all that, all those other bullet points, yeah, I wish we heard from a hiring manager. Why y'all put that in there?
Yeah.
Why y'all load that up in there? And I'm never planning to touch that stuff.
I mean, it could be the point to where now candidates I done seen, you can meet 95% of the requirements, but that 5%, that's why they ain't hiring you.
Or even beyond the requirements. Once we even get into the interview, why are y'all asking me these questions that are not even relevant to the job that we're talking about right now?
And it will disqualify you for it.
Straight up.
Yeah, like, you know.
It's crazy, like it's almost like a cheat code for them to have whenever it's like, we need a reason to end this and not bring you in. You know what? Because you didn't make the cut.
That's exactly how it is. It's crazy, man. Like, I'm glad I ain't the only one seeing it. And I'm glad my cousin that came on last episode said he's seeing it, you're seeing it. But I mean, that's not to discourage anybody, but it's just like, you just got to be that much more dialed into your craft. You got to be that much more dialed into being able to learn more. Just being relentless, applying endlessly. You might just have a day, all you do is apply for jobs.
It definitely makes you become a lot more hyper-focused on what your goals are.
Yeah.
Not just applying to roles just because, but specifically applying to roles that really is really where you're trying to be. And narrowing that scope, that list down to 1 or 2 or even 3 similar type of roles, you're going to find a lot of success at getting not only to the door but through the door, because you know exactly what you want, and you're the best fit because you're the one that's really eager to do this role. They're really looking for someone who really wants to do the role, and not just like, all right, we got someone that just is here getting paid, collecting a check, and later on when they're onboarded 90 days in, hey man, what you been doing? The stuff we need you to deliver within the 30, 60, 90.
I get it, but that's what I'm saying. Like, like some of those people, but I feel like if the person's meeting 95% of your requirements and they a good culture fit, and because they don't know something that's not on the job description, I don't know, I just feel like that's tedious. Like you said, that's why we're seeing the same job. You'll see the same company post the same job for 6 months straight. Y'all ain't found nobody yet. Somebody y'all interviewed could do that job.
Someone you interviewed could do the job. The argument is, and when we're talking about cybersecurity, there's probably other industries that are experiencing the same thing. But when we're talking about cybersecurity, the argument is, hey, they can't afford to take a chance on someone, because what we're talking about is data, and what we're talking about is information security, and we need top flight to do these jobs. Or I guess we'll just be vulnerable because we don't
Yeah.
have the right support and the resources in the right area. So they'll just take a chance.
Yeah. So, hey man, stay relentless out there though, y'all. Don't let this, like I said, just stay relentless. Keep applying, man. Apply for lower level jobs. You know what I'm saying? Just stay relentless, man. Keep learning. Because the jobs ain't going nowhere. And the more you learn, like I said last episode, if you keep shooting, eventually one will go in, man.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing is that we're looking for engineers and architects. So
Yeah.
if you're scared to apply and you're just aiming at admin, and if it says level 1, you need to start aim higher. Try
Yeah.
that. Start to aim higher, because you may find that someone's sat on it for 6 months and they can't wait any longer, and they're willing to take someone that they can train up, or maybe they even have the resources to ensure that the individual is trained up.
Yeah.
So take a chance and aim at engineer level roles, aim at architect level roles. It is, so long as you understand what the requirements are and you cater your resume and your branding towards that specific role. And I would always say, lean on the people who are already in the role. Ask them, what do y'all do? What type of tools do you touch? And that'll give you the clues that you need to be able to do some background work to get versed up.
Mhm. So tell people about this how we're gonna end it off, man. Go ahead and tell people about your platform, man. You have these shows you do every Monday and Wednesday at 12, and then you do it all week. You do it at 8 p.m. on Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, man. I listen in sometime and I see all these different people that you're bringing on. Just tell me what you're trying to do with that and your platform, and just let people know where they can find you. If anybody watching this want to sit in one of the talks and stuff, just to give your spiel on it.
I've been labeling it as cyber talks. That's just something ChatGPT came up with, and
Yeah.
I just rocked and roll with it. But what it really is, I was on TikTok. Wifey's on TikTok all the time, and
Mhm.
and she's finding out ways. She's an entrepreneur. She's a lawyer. She's in that space, and she's growing her practice. And I got on it and I was like, where are the cybersecurity folks at? And I was seeing the cyber folks out there, and they were on live. They were
Yeah.
doing lives, but it was these rapid fire questions. And boy, were they getting hit with rapid
Yeah.
fire questions and delivering rapid fire answers.
Yeah.
And my goal in all of this is to slow the conversation down, because when you deliver that rapid fire answer, it's limited to the context that, and the way TikTok works is you only get so many characters before they let you even send a message during a live or a comment.
Yeah.
So I saw that gap. And so I wanted to fill that gap, and I wanted to create a community of cybersecurity folks that are coming on, and also not just established folks in the space, but also people who are emerging. So
Mm-hmm.
my whole goal is to bridge that gap between these two type of identities, and have people help each other out. And that's what's been happening. So every single day I go live noon on Mondays and Wednesdays Eastern time, and every other day
You had
8
my boy
p.m.
Dom up there.
You see him?
Yeah, Dom Cyber Genius. Yeah.
So
I had him on my pod.
yeah, I saw that. So the individuals that I'm reaching out to, so I introduce myself.
Shout out to Dom, man.
He's doing some amazing things. He's got this playbook. I don't know if it's out yet, but
Yeah.
he was talking about it, and it sounded like it was going to be a super great resource for people. And I'm literally introducing myself to people, and I'll see something that they're doing on TikTok, and they're creators, and they're creating material to help people out. So I knock on their door and see if they're willing to come chat with me. And it's not just with me, it's a panel base. So I open up all the many boxes that TikTok will allow you to open up, and I have folks get on there, and I feature the guest for the day, and I let them get their intro, and then they rock and roll with what they do and how they're helping the space and different ways that they're leaning in. And then the people who are established in the space, they also come chat. They share their experiences. They even ask probing questions that help the audience learn more. And then the people who are emerging, I always encourage them to come up. They're often hesitant to come chat. They end up coming up and they ask their question. And the only way that they're going to learn is if they come up and be vulnerable, and ask that specific question, that burning question that they have to get an answer to. And they get up there, and then the folks who are established, they come and lean in, answer those questions. I'll lean in, talk a little bit, and then we'll keep moving. So I've been reaching out. So my strategy here is to reach out to a lot of the smaller creators, people who have like 1,000 following.
Yeah.
But here recently, I've been kind of upping up the
Yeah.
ante a little bit and reaching out to folks who have, 15,
Yeah.
20,000 followings.
You'd be
And
surprised who respond, man. And
they
people that's
are
come.
they're responding, and not only are they responding, but they're also accepting, and they're saying, yes, I want to come talk and I want to come deliver this message. And it's been
That's what
great. I
I'm
haven't
saying.
got a no yet. Now some people have said like, hey, I'm busy right now, but there's no no's out there, and that tells me that people, number one, TikTok is where the action is happening.
Yeah, I like TikTok.
Because there's no other platform out there right now that will let you go live and then interconnect you to these
A
other
panel, yeah.
these panels that once they're on there, they appear that they're online. So their network is being brought to your network, and your two networks are converging with each other. So I love that piece about it, and that's how my following is growing so rapidly. And then I'm also streaming to YouTube as well. It's Cyber Talks, and we're on every single day. Come check us out. I'm on Nate Butler Explains. You type in Nate Butler Explains in TikTok, you'll find me. Come give us a chance, and also come ask those questions. And even if I'm calling you out, emerging folks, come ask those questions. I'm also calling out the established folks. Come help them out. No gatekeeping, y'all.
Yeah.
No fluff. No
Yeah.
gatekeeping.
Yeah. No fluff, man. And what's your YouTube channel? Shout your YouTube
It's
out,
the
man.
same thing. Nate Butler Explains.
Okay. Yeah, so Nate Butler Explains, man. But like you said, he does this daily. So anybody who in the space who wants to get their voice heard, this is your guy, man. He's built the platform where people can come on and share their thoughts and ask questions and anything you want to know. And I feel that this real good for the space, but the space do need something like that where people can network like that as well.
Yeah, we change the topics every
Yeah.
single day. So yesterday we talked about gatekeeping.
Yeah.
Tonight we might talk about why not the A+.
Yeah.
We talk about search, we talk about cloud architecture, we talk about network security, pen testing, red team, blue team, purple team. There's been a multitude of topics and a bunch coming through. So we've already got, I'm into March right now with people coming on every day.
So yeah, y'all tap in with him, man. Like Nate Butler Explains. And I just want to tell you, man, I had reached out to him. I saw the type of content that he was posting, man. I just felt like that it was real positive for the space. He followed me. He always show love on my content. I was messaging him and said, hey, man, come out to Raleigh. He was in Charlotte. It ain't too far. So, he came out here and, spent some time with me on, Byte-Sized Balance. That's the power of networking, man. Like I said, when you reach out to people and, you make those connections, and that's real important in this space.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I didn't know you were so nearby. And
Yeah.
when I reached out, I saw everything that you were doing. I just like congratulating you, and saw that it was just amazed by all the content that you were pushing, and fabulous content.
I
So
appreciate it.
I had to say something.
Yeah, I
And then
appreciate it,
would
bro.
transpire another authentic, genuine relationship
Yeah.
where it's like, or the outcome was, now I'm here. So I think that if you want to do something, you don't always have to be so transactional. You could do something and tell someone, be genuine about
Yeah.
something that you care about what they're doing, and say something provoking like, hey, I liked it because, or here's why.
Yeah. So, other than that, yeah, we touched on a lot of good points today, man. We talked about GRC, we talked about AI, we talked about, how companies are, struggling with their cybersecurity posture, cloud security posture management. I'm gonna actually, timestamp this video so y'all will be able to, flip through it and see exactly, because it's a lot of good gems and a lot of good information in that. But to wrap it up, Nate, I appreciate you coming on, my brother. And maybe I can have you on again, someday. I like to, have guests come back on. You know what I'm saying? Maybe like after a year, we'll see where you at. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, X, YouTube. We're on all platforms, Byte-Sized Balance. Or you can follow me on Instagram, TAVV.__. And this was another official episode of Byte-Sized Balance, and we out.